Hey everyone, Anthony Fantano here, Internet's busiest music nerd. Hope you're doing well, and it is time for another edition of our weekly track roundup, where I go over what I felt were the best and the worst tracks of the week. Thank you for coming in for, again, yet another powwow over some of the best songs I've heard over the past 7 days. Want to shout out our sponsor in this video, the good people over at Ridge Wallet. They make these nifty metal-plated wallets that are super minimal and smart and carry your cards efficiently with a little rubber band strap, and there's a nice money clip on the back too, as well as a cash strap if you'd like that option as well. You can find a link to their site down there in the description box and use promo code FANTANO to get 10% off of your purchase. Of course, again, they sponsor the segment, they support the show, and want to shout out our Amazon and Turntable Lab associate links down there. If you hit up that Turntable Lab link, you buy some speakers, a turntable, some records. We get kickback from it. Supports the show, supports the channel, supports the segment. And let's get into the tracks that I thought were the worst ones this week. Let's do it. Quite a few worst tracks this week, honestly. First off, it's the new 1975 track, Two Time, which is a huge contrast from their last cut, which had a pretty nice organic instrumental, at least a little bit more than usual from them. Some good vocals and some thoughtful, I guess, socially charged lyrics. This new cut over here, though, is a total mess. Instrumental is obnoxious, overly produced, super sanitary. Vocals are slathered in so much auto-tune they sound horrendous. And it just sounds like a crappy Vampire Weekend song. Yeah, can't stand it. Moving on from there, the new SOB RBE track, Vibes, which is anything but a vibe. It's a little obnoxious that the group essentially approaches songs with pretty much the same flow every time. I'm kind of hoping that they break things up a bit more going forward, because this is just preposterous how their recent material is just so painfully formulaic that you know exactly what you're going to hear when you're going to hear it on their newer material. Like, let's try to break it up a little bit, especially since there are multiple members of the group. You know, certainly there's room for alteration. But yeah, definitely one of their more uninspired and formulaic tracks to date. I still do like kind of their raw and very youthful attitude and their wild energy. But again, kind of approaching most tracks with the same delivery is a little tiresome. Moving on from there, Chance the Rapper is the featured artist on the new Reeseynem track, What's the Hook? And yeah, there's not that strong of a hook or an instrumental. The rapping is pretty subpar on this track too. It just sounds like a very off-the-cuff, annoying mess. Didn't really care for it, honestly. Moving on from there, Paul McCartney comes out with one of his worst singles in years, essentially trying to pen a very bad, over-the-top, generic millennial ballad on this one, complete with the, the soaring, whoa, type vocals. That's awful, and the Fuh You line is vomit-inducing, so let's leave it at that. Calvin Harris and Sam Smith essentially come together with one of the most generic throwback pop house songs I've heard in a while, that essentially serves as a reminder of why this sound died out in the 90s and the super early 2000s and why it doesn't need to come back. I'm just kind of flabbergasted as to how an artist like Calvin Harris, who clearly has a very high level of talent, can be this inconsistent quality-wise. And let's move on to the tracks that I was kind of meh on. Not blown away by them, but certainly worth mentioning. The Lemon Twigs are back with a song titled The Fire. I feel like the melodrama and the narrative of the song kind of gets away from them a little bit, and the tune suffers as a result of it, but still a kind of fun track if you enjoy your old school, nostalgic kind of throwback rock music to have a somewhat theatrical tone, I guess. The Field is back with a new minimal techno track, which is pretty hypnotic and pretty cool. Who Goes There is the title of the track. New record on the way. Be on the lookout for that. Next, we have a brand new song from Russ titled The Flute Song. And Yeah, it sounds pretty much as average as every other Russ song. New record on the way, I guess. Super average flows, plain instrumental, bragging his ass off about his supposed achievements, I guess it being a generic dime a dozen rapper without many specific musical characteristics that I could draw directly to him, but I don't know. His music just sounds really plain to me, and that just continues to be the case. Moving on from there, Rina Sawayama, brand new single, sounds a lot like the electropop and dance pop of the 2000s, like a lot of her material does, but I felt like instrumentally and structurally this new track over here was a little safe for Rina. Felt kind of plain and like she was, I don't know, just kind of embodying very modern, plain, mainstream pop rather than reinventing it or approaching it with any kind of flair or very sharp, snappy songwriting. Moving on from there, Me Without You, new track out, new EP out, new album on the way. The song over here is titled Julia, or Holy to the Lord, on the Bells of Horses. Not as lyrically intensive, vocally impassioned as I typically enjoy my Me Without You songs to be. Instrumentally, it just kind of felt like a nice, easygoing blend of indie rock and alternative rock. It was okay. I guess I was just hoping for a stronger vocal performance, but the vocals are kind of doubled up and soaked in all these effects. They feel very warped and very subdued and aren't very intriguing to me, honestly. Hopefully, this is not indicative of the sound on the entire album, because for a teaser track, this is a little underwhelming. Moving on from there, Low has a new track out titled Disarray. Much like the songs they have released from this upcoming album, there is kind of an experimental and ambient edge to this new cut over here. Very eerie, very spacey, very quiet. I will say, though, this new cut over here, the persistent, abrasive, rhythmic, prickly sounds coming out of this track, which if you give a listen to it, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. I thought they would just kind of be an intro thing or a tone setter and the band would eventually grow past it, but no, instead they kind of last throughout the entire track, and they really kind of bog the song down and are only interesting for so long, I guess. I feel like it's a bit overdone and really kind of kills the quality of the song overall. And finally, Fucked Up, the Canadian punk rock band, new song out, Normal People. It's a bit of a nice change of pace for the group, as the song features a lot of these kind of dramatic and somewhat dime a dozen, but again, nice change of pace post-punk passages that aren't at all like the usual roaring, overwrought punk rock that you typically get on a Fucked Up record, though they do transition into some moments like that, and it's a good dynamic. It's a good switch. Can't say I'm crazy about the song or the way either of those different passages sound, but structurally and dynamically, I think it's a good change of pace for the band. And let's get into the tracks I thought were best, the ones that really kind of hit me, blew me away. First, Rosalia with Pienso en tu Mira, which is a single that came out a little while ago. I missed it. This is the second single, I believe, that has dropped from this forthcoming release of hers, and she continues to fuse elements of modern pop with flamenco, and it sounds amazing. It sounds awesome. I think this tune is actually stronger than the last tune that she dropped, Malamente. Just great singing, super amazing percussion and instrumental on this one. It's very mystical, it's very sexy, it's very impassioned. Melodically, it's amazing, and Rosalia vocally always impresses. So loving what she's doing, just continuing to love it. Moving on from there, Lando Chill with a new track out with Quelle Chris. The song is titled Peso. Killer underground abstract hip-hop track with some great vocal performances from both these guys. A lot of character on this song and some smart bars too, so do not miss out on this track. Next, moving on from there, Kurt Vile has a new fantastic piece of folk rock out titled Loading Zones. Definitely one of my favorite Vile songs in a while. So again, don't miss out on this one, because I feel like Kurt could kind of be bouncing back on this record a little bit, because his last one, truth be told, was kind of weak. Moving on from there, Joyce Manor. Think I'm Still in Love with You is a pretty good fusion of pop rock, alt rock, and emo. Just great quality guitars, great hooks, great melody. good lead vocals, just, again, quality songwriting. Quality songwriting. That's what I think a lot of these underground, emo-tinged rock bands need right now, and certainly Joyce Manor does bring it to the table. Moving on from there, Guerilla Toss, Green Apple. This new set of songs that has been teasing toward a new record, like with every Guerilla Toss record so far, just sounds totally different, totally reinvented. This time around, it's not so much the spunky and super colorful and funky sounds of post-punk and freaky 80s pop rock, as much as this new set of songs feels like a freaky, psychedelic, experimental, electronic weirdo experiment. I like, and really, it's kind of indescribable in a way, with some very strange, almost spoken word type vocals on top of it. It wasn't too crazy about the last track, but this new one, Green Apple, I dug so much more. I guess I'm just continuing to enjoy and appreciate the versatility of the band. While I may not enjoy every direction that they take things in, it's always interesting and cool to hear them challenge themselves and push into a new direction. Moving on from there, FIDLAR, who I haven't really enjoyed a song from in a while, a new track out titled Are You High? Stylistically, it may kind of feel like generic 90s alt rock, or maybe even a little watered down post grunge from the early 2000s, but the track has a hilarious attitude, has a bit of a, I don't know, kind of a fuck you, I'm going to do what I want with my body and my bad decisions type of message to it, which I can't really, complain too much about. And I just kind of like the raw personality of the track and the double finger in the air attitude quite a bit. And the hook is super strong. So respect to FIDLAR on this new cut over here. DJ Muggs and Doom have come out with another single, a new track from the forthcoming Muggs project. This one over here titled Assassination Day, much darker and eerier and more morbid than the last collaborative track that they dropped. Actually comes with a visual too of like the president getting assassinated, but the president is depicted as being Kanye West. It's a very odd visual, but it's a super dark and crazy song, and easily one of the most refreshing performances that Doom has given in a long time. It seems like Muggs is really kind of putting Doom outside of his comfort zone and sort of getting him to perform outside of the typical gear that I think he has caught himself in as a result of just, being a veteran at this point who people expect a certain thing from. And now it seems like he's just trying to break it up a little bit. And I like that collaborating with Muggs is allowing him to do that. Next, I'm digging on this new track over here from Cloud Nothing's Echo of the World is the title of the new track, new album on the way. If you remember, I was kind of underwhelmed by the, I guess, softer approach that Cloud Nothings were taking with their last record. This new album over here seems to kind of bring back that sound of experimental and underground alternative rock from the 90s with some very strange guitar passages and production choices that I thought were really, really cool and kind of cutting edge. Excuse me. Holy fuck, I'm disgusting. Moving on from there, Cat Power has a new track out, Woman, featuring Lana Del Rey, which actually goes over much better than I anticipated that it would. Maybe the hook on this track comes off a little awkward with the woman, woman. Like it's very persistent and repetitive, I guess. But still, I thought their vocals married very well, and the instrumental is really quality and has good pacing to it, the track, that is. Just overall good song, and it's cool to hear Cat Power returning with a cool risk over here with the guest, and just a good tune overall. So, and Bosse-de-Nage, the experimental black metal group from America, is back with a super animalistic performance and sharp song on the track My Shroud. Does take a little bit to get going with a somewhat dreary guitar instrumental at the front end of the cut, but once it gets going, it goes, and it goes. And I will leave it at that, everyone. That has been the weekly track roundup. Hopefully you guys got some good recommendations out of this episode. Love you, love you, love you. Hope you're doing well. And many, many kisses to you, many hugs. And just get down there, hit up those links, hear those tracks. And shout out once more to the good people over at the the Ridge wallet, the people who make the Ridge wallet, because they sponsored this shit. They sponsor this channel. So, and again, 10% off, promo code Fantano, link below. All right. You're the best, you're the best, you're the best, you're the best. Weekly track roundup. Anthony Fantano. For